First of all, our first speaker is Revd Dr David Pickering. So David is a minister in the United Reformed Church. He established and managed Eco Congregation, which is now called Eco Church in England and Wales, and was the first chair of Operation Noah. Since 2016, he has been moderator of the URC National Synod of Scotland, and David helped lead the proposal for the URC to divest from fossil fuel companies, which was unanimously agreed in May 2019. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to share in 3 parts what might be described as a how we did it guide. The first part is a little background to the United Reformed Church. The second part is some question and answers, or Mythbusters, which I hope might be helpful. And the third is some top tips. So first, some background about the United Reformed Church. It's a family of churches with a central URC trust and 13 synods, each of which has an independent trust. And the resolution I'm speaking to, which relates to the central church assets, not the assets of individual synods. The value of a central church assets are about £100 million, which is split 50-50 roughly between pension funds and central reserves. They were already subject to certain ethical criteria, including precluding investment in areas including armaments, pornography, gambling, alcohol, to which had been added certain heavy fossil fuel activities, for example, coal and tar sands. The denomination uses CCALA as their investment managers and works in partnership with other denominations to use their collective strength to bring shareholder influence on some issues. That approach has had some successes, including an aspect of mining, but can more readily address issues such as diversity of boards and pay differential between the highest and lowest remuneration bands. Many value this engagement, but many doubt that it's appropriate to apply this principle or approach to fossil fuel companies. So the Mythbusters. 1, we lose our influence around the boardroom. Boardroom engagement, in our experience, has had little impact in 20 years. If anything, prevaricated, too little too late. We are letting the companies off the hook by our presence legitimizing their activities. Currently, some oil companies, as we've heard, are promoting a green image, but are investing just about 3% of their assets in renewables and 90% in fossil fuel business as usual. So a question back to those promoting engagement. What's the plan? Do we really expect fossil fuel producing companies to cease their core business? And if it was a pornography company, would we still be engaging after 20 years or so if they'd diverted 3% of their publications into children's annuals whilst maintaining 97% in pornography? Mythbuster 2, we all use oil. Are we not hypocritical? We all have a role in armaments as taxpayers and citizens, but that doesn't mean we wish to invest our money in such an industry. Given the trajectory of the Earth, the climate crisis, it is immoral to continue to do this. But far more positively, by moving our investments from fossil fuels to renewables, we are doing our bit to buck the market. Increase the investment in renewals widens choices that our churches and we each have as consumers. So that is helpful. Myth number 3, divesting is a one-off token act ending your ability to influence. Let me tell you a story 1 year on. In May 2019, the URC took the decision to divest central investments by General Assembly 2020, i.e. this July. It was actually completed by December 2019 in 6 months. It's achievable. And boy, is the whole denomination glad to see that after the impact of lockdown, but we're out of oil. But with no fossil, the CCALA company had no fossil-free ethical fund. We assumed they were going to create a new fossil-free ethical fund, but they chose a better path, which was to engage with other investors in the existing fund, which had investments of about £500 million. They won the argument, and within 6 months of a URC decision, not only was our £100 million fossil fuel free, but an additional £500 million belonging to other charities had been levered out of fossil fuel investments. There is more. The new fund attracted other investors, and by a turn of the year, it had attracted well over £900 million investment. We are approaching a 10 times leverage on our decision. But there is more. The decision that was taken by Mission Council centrally also and critically changed the URC's ethical criteria. So the synods, who have between them actually more assets invested than central funds, are now moving to divest and not having to go through the whole divestment argument all over again, but rather the simple ask is that each synod aligns with the URC central policy, and it's a much easier ask. Divesting is a one-off token act ending your ability to influence. It is a myth in our experience, the reality, and that is without factoring in the influence that the URC's decision is having on denominations and investors. It's helping to create a sense that reputational-wise, oil-producing companies are a toxic investment, toxic to your reputation and toxic to your bottom line. So now some top tips. Prepare well. And for us, against a well-briefed financial committee, we produced a detailed report making a clear case for investment. I have to acknowledge that the real support of James and his colleagues from Operation Noah, who helped us on this, having the technical backup was critical. And our paper is available, I think going to be available online. Tip 2, build support. Make sure that you engage in an open, warm and cooperative way with those who will have the decision and, in fact, those who have a view on the other side. In fact, the URC financial crew, so having appreciated the possibility of this move, had prepared the ground with our investment managers. That is to their considerable credit. 3, and this is critical, I think, start grassroots. One synod, one diocese, one circuit at a time. We started in Scotland and in another synod, and we used our leverage, our tiny leverage in Scotland, to move the URC denominationally. So even if you do something little in your circuit, your synod, your diocese, use it as a building block. So that's our idea. In a word, how do you eat an elephant? You take one bite at a time. So that's our divestment story in a nutshell, and over to you, and all power to your respective elbows.